I'm about to share some resources with you about a sample pelvic floor muscle training program. And it might get overwhelming. I hope it doesn't. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. But I want you to remember that even if you just choose one exercise and do it consistently, that is better than where you were, right? And everybody starts somewhere. So celebrate your wins. Don't be overwhelmed by the volume of stuff that I'm going to give you. Start small, start consistent, and build. Okay, so let's check it out. Here is yet another tracker. I'm giving you so many different things, and I know it may feel overwhelming. You can choose what works for you. Here is another example of something that you could use. So here we're starting at, start. And so basically you're checking how long can you hold the muscles? How many repetitions can you do it? Quick contractions, are you relaxing? And then you can do your APFQ score here. And then you can check it every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, whatever works for you. So that's an example of something that you can use. The ideal scenario is that your pelvic floor muscles are doing the right thing at the right time. They're correctly contracting, completely letting go, relaxing at the right times, and contracting at the right times, right? They're active at the right times and they're relaxed at the right times. This is an isolated pelvic floor muscle training program. This is based on my pelvic floor hero, Dr. Carrie Bow. She has done a ton of research on pelvic floor muscle training programs. She uses the ACSM, the American College of Sports Medicine, their muscle training kind of guidelines, and she's adapted it for the pelvic floor. And so this program is slightly adapted from what she has done all the research for. And this is very similar to what I've used for 20 plus years. And so I feel like this is a very effective place to start for most people, or an effective goal for most people. If it doesn't work for you, that's okay. You can do something else, but this gives you an idea of something to shoot for, okay? So we want to work the marathon fibers. Those are the fibers that hold for a longer period of time, right? Kind of hold your bottom up. When we're working those marathon fibers, so we want to do an endurance hold, we're doing a maximum contraction. And remember, all of this is in the pain-free range. And if you have overactive pelvic floor muscles, you're not going to be able to start here. If you have underactive pelvic floor muscles, you're not going to be able to start here. If you aren't sure and you can do this right now, then that's fantastic. So, and go through all the other self-checks that we've gone through. So we're going to work the marathon fibers, doing a maximum contraction, doing a 10-second hold, a 10-second release, doing 10 repetitions, and then repeating that sequence in 3 different positions. So essentially you're doing 30 of those. You'll do it lying down, do it sitting, and do it standing. Sitting can be on a chair, it can be on the ground, it can be on a ball, whatever works for you. Then we're also working the sprint fibers, which are the quick squeezes. A maximum contraction, as long as you're not having pain, a 1-second hold, 1-second release, 10 repetitions. Repeat that in these 3 positions. And then incorporating the pelvic brace, which is that combined contraction of your deep abdominals, your pelvic floor, and your diaphragm. That's your core. So it's that combined contraction of your core, and incorporating that into your everyday life. So here are some examples of what your everyday life might look like. If your everyday life looks different, that's fine too. Okay, here's some common mistakes that happen with pelvic floor muscle training. Holding the breath, not integrating strength and endurance training, choosing the wrong position. So remember how we talked about using gravity to start off with. So if you're already doing pretty well with your pelvic floor, you don't need to start in that gravity assisted position. But if you're really weak, then it's a good idea to start in gravity assisted and work into the other positions as you're able. Squeezing accessory muscles when you're trying to isolate. So that would be like squeezing your glute muscles, pulling your knees together. You know, when you are doing that pelvic brace, no one can really tell what you're doing other than exhaling. And maybe they can see a little bit with your belly drawing in, but they can't see your pelvic floor. So if there's movement happening, then likely you're doing some compensation and you're not truly isolating. Not completely letting go. So remember, contracting is equally as important as relaxing. And so we need the full range of motion with the pelvic floor muscles. Only working on quick squeezes and not working on that endurance, pushing down instead of pulling up, and then assuming that you're squeezing correctly. A lot of times people aren't doing it correctly. And so you can try doing the self-check, but if you need more intervention, excuse me, if you need more intervention, then seeing a provider that can help give you that feedback. Here are some, it's very similar to what I just said, but I'm going to reinforce it. Okay, it's a different way to say it. So we want you to identify and isolate the pelvic floor to start training, especially if you're having issues. And then a lot of times people are squeezing the wrong muscles. Breathe and lift the floor, close the openings. And then what people frequently do is straining or holding their breath. Do not hold that breath. That's why we started with the diaphragm and started with breathing as our very first exercise in this challenge. Keep the hips, buttocks, and legs quiet. So squeezing extra muscles. The position, so weak, we want to do that gravity assisted where your hips are up on a couple pillows, and then strong, we want to work anti-gravity with exercise and activities. Integrate with activity, and then a lot of times people will just do pelvic floor muscles lying on the mat forever. Well, that doesn't do you any good in your everyday life. So you've got to train, get good, and then integrate that into your activity. And then practice. We want you to practice quick flicks. We want you to practice endurance and practice letting go. And then too many people practice quick flicks only. I think that's the last one there. Yeah, that's the last one for that one. So, okay, that's pelvic floor muscle training in a nutshell. Questions, drop them. If you want to train your pelvic floor muscles, I have some I have an exciting option in the now what section. So we're almost done, you guys. I'm so happy that you've been here. The next couple lessons are talking about bowel and bladder health, and I encourage you not to skip over those because those are so key to pelvic health and our pelvic floor muscles. Our pelvic floor muscles help to control pee and poop. So it's all working together. So check those lessons out. They're a little bit longer, but I promise you that you are going to find value in it. And then hopefully you become the expert in pee, poop, and pelvic health so you can educate everybody around you. Okay, I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.